All right, it is Thursday, and today we are talking about event domination, and the subject is how sponsorship works with events. So I run the largest real estate investing conference in Canada. It's called the Multifamily Conference, and sponsorship is a big part about running an event. And today, really, we're diving into everything you need to know about planning for sponsorship, how it works, the revenue streams, all that type of stuff. So let me just dive right into the iPad because we've got a lot to cover in terms of sponsorship. This is a big subject. So with sponsorship, a lot of people, this is how I think about sponsorship. You got sponsors. Well, there's three keys to an event, right? I call it the three S's. All right, so you got speakers, sponsors, and spectators. You need three. These are the three components that work together in terms of making an event happen. Now, each one of these items right here, these pieces of the event, they're in direct competition with each other. And this is what I mean, right? The sponsors are trying to extract dollars from the spectators, the audience, right? They want to generate sales. Now, the audience doesn't want to pay the sponsors. They just want to show up and hear the speakers, right? But the speakers, the speakers, they want something out of the audience as well, but the audience just wants to hear the speakers. But then, everything's all interconnected, and there's all this pulling, right? And then the sponsors don't want the speakers because then the speakers will overshadow the sponsors and vice versa. And this is how it turns into a bit of a mess. But here's the right way, or the way I think of approaching sponsorship with an event. Any event is going to solve a problem. If you're running an event for gym owners who have trouble scaling their business, that's the problem you're solving. If you're running an event for lawyers who have trouble finding clients, that's the problem your event's solving. If you're running a real estate conference and people are wondering how to take advantage of all the opportunities and all that type of stuff, that's the problem you're solving. Now, that's the main thing that all your content on stage is going to be talking about. But your audience, there are so many subgroups within your audience. So for instance, I'll use the gym owner one. So gym owners trying to scale past one gym location. That's the big problem. So one location for gym owners. What happens is there's going to be subgroups within that audience. And there's going to be some gym owners who have trouble hiring. Right? You have some owners who have trouble with marketing. You have some gym owners who have trouble with insurance. I'm just using this as an example. There's many, many, many. Your event, the main problem your event solves isn't insurance, right? It's not hiring. It's not payroll. Here, let me just add payroll right here. That's not something you're talking about on stage because that's too niche for the general audience you have. This is where sponsorship can really, really help. As through sponsorship, you can solve the ancillary problems that your audience has without covering that on the main stage. So for instance, maybe there is a payroll company who wants to tap into your audience of gym owners because that's the solution they provide. They help people with payroll. They help small businesses who have never run payroll before. They help them get started. They'll manage the whole process for them. They'll make sure the employees get paid. So you can create a sponsorship activation, which is what it's called, an activation, which is when the sponsor interacts with the audience. You can create an activation where now the sponsor over here gets to tap into this audience. That obviously the sponsors want to pay you for the privilege of doing that, but they're actually solving a real need and solving a pain point for your audience, which is, hey, I have an issue with running payroll. I have no idea what I'm doing, right? Can you see how sponsorship can actually be a benefit to the audience? Because a lot of people, they think of sponsorship as, oh, it's just we're just trying to hard sell everybody. Well, that's not the case. Sponsorship really allows you to solve other problems for your audience that they have, maybe subgroup problems that the main group doesn't have as a whole, right? It's too broad. Sponsorship, perfect fit for that. So when we look at events and revenue streams, there's really three revenue streams with events. So let me break this down here. So you've got a front end, you've got your front end revenue and your back end. So we've got front end, and we've got back end. Your front end revenue consists of two streams. You've got ticket sales, and then you've got sales. And on your back end, that's going to be your product, right? That's your product sales, whatever your product is. All right. That's how you're making money with an event. Ticket sales, we're going to cover that another day. You've got that covered. Back end, you've got that covered. Now, let's break down sponsorship, because with sponsorship, people get, especially if they're first getting into events, it gets a little bit convoluted. So the way we break it down in-house with us is we divide sponsorship into two different segments. So segment number one is going to be exhibition. And segment number two is going to be true sponsorship. So that's going to be activations. What I mean by exhibition, so for our event, let me just draw the our event plan here. All right, so we've got one hall right here. We've got one hall right here. Our event takes up a lot of space. So we have a trade show component where we have all of these vendor booths right here. And for our audience in the real estate business type of space, you know, we'll have people seeking capital. We'll have finance companies. Well, like all the different problems our audience has, we have vendors for that. So this is the exhibition space right here. So a company will pay us for real estate at our event so they can exhibit. And we have all the different booths. Our general sizes are 10 by 10, 10 by 15, and 20 by 20. So this is one way you can drive revenue. Now with sponsorship activations, this is where you're going to take an approach. Hey, we've got this one company, they solve this problem. We have this subgroup of our audience who has this problem. How can we connect the two groups together in a mutually beneficial way? Maybe vendor space is not it. So in that case, what can we do? And the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit with this type of stuff, and everything has to be customized. I'm going to talk about the customization process in a little bit. So that's really what I mean by sponsorship. So for us, when we talk about sponsorship, it's exhibition or it's sponsorship activation. Some people, they jumble it all together, all that type of stuff, but we want to separate it because exhibition, it really is a different sale process. It really is a different type of sponsor opportunity. It's a different company that comes in rather than a true sponsorship through activation. So the one question people ask all the time is, hey, I'm running an event. How do I actually find sponsors through that process? Because nobody's beating down my door. And I remember the first year of our conference, we didn't really think about sponsorship too much. Well, we had some options, but we didn't really understand. And then our second year and then so on, we got a lot better with it. So the way we approach sponsorship with our sponsorship team now is we run the bucket system. So we have all sorts of different buckets that we want to fill. Generally speaking, we want to have 6 to 8 buckets that we're looking to fill with potential prospects. So what we do is we sit down when we're working with whatever events, because we do work with events and help them. So events will come to us. Robbie, you can put that up on the screen. So events will come to us and we'll say, hey, listen, Seth, you've scaled your conference. Can you help us? Because we're stuck at 500 people, 600 people, 300 people, 1,000 people. I want to double in size. I just got off a call with somebody who wants to launch a 2,000 person conference next year, right? So this is the type of stuff we do because we have all the systems and processes. So if you're interested in us helping you with your conference or workshop, just go to theconferenceaccelerator.com and you can watch the video explaining how we work, what we do, and then you can book a call with our team. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Robbie. So let's go with the gym example, okay? So let's say we're running a gym event for gym owners looking to scale. That's the greater audience, gym owners looking to scale. Now we have to figure out, okay, well, what types of sponsors, what types of industries, what types of people would be interested in interacting with our audience in a way that's valuable for both parties? So let me just brainstorm right here. So we could have equipment manufacturers. That could be one. So what you do in this bucket is now you're going to create a list of every single equipment manufacturer in your space and add them to the bucket. Now, with fitness and everything, supplements. Because with supplements, a gym owner, that's going to be an additional revenue stream for them because they're going to have that as an upsell to their current database. So now what you're going to do is you're going to make a list of all of the different supplement companies supplement related companies, and you're going to add them to that bucket. Then you're going to have probably a marketing, advertising type of services, right? So maybe media buyers, graphic design, video editors, all that type of stuff. Now you're going to add them all into that bucket. And then you maybe have HR roles, so the payroll, the hiring, the staffing, time tracking, all that type of stuff. Maybe you'll add that to that bucket. You see how this goes. So basically all you're doing in this exercise is sitting down and brainstorming all the different possible buckets that interact with your audience. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be parts of your audience, that subgroup, who's looking to replace all their equipment. Maybe it's leasing. Maybe they want to purchase, whatever it's in that, and that's a further subgroup. With supplements, I guarantee you, with that gym audience, there's people who want to increase their revenue every month by selling more supplements. Great. Marketing and ads. Hey, maybe you know fitness really well. You're not so good on the marketing side, so you need help with that. HR, we already covered that example, but you go on and on and on. And like I said, you want to have between 6 to 8 different buckets for your sponsorship outreach. Because here's the thing, with sponsorship, it's more like you're going into the market rather than inbound. So for ticket sales, it's almost all inbound, right? So people have given us, they want the information. Now we can reach out with that. With sponsorship, you're going out into the marketplace. So this is the strategy you're going to use. You have all of, here we go. Now you have all your different buckets, right? And now you're going to have your sponsorship outreach team. If you're just starting out, you're going to have to do this on your own. If you have your team, this is exactly what you want to do. You want to have your team now go out into the marketplace. So this is the marketplace. You have to play offense, not defense. Defense is where you're sitting there waiting for somebody to email you or waiting for somebody to call you. Offense, who cares? You're picking up your phone, you're dialing. So you're going to have your sponsorship team go into the marketplace a couple different ways. Number one is LinkedIn. So with all your different buckets, you're going to go out into the marketplace and find all the people. Now we have a very specific system on how we do this. We have all the messages, all the scripts, all that type of stuff, our cadence, that's a topic for another day. But basically with LinkedIn, you're going out into the marketplace, you're doing outbound messaging to start a conversation. Then you're going to pick up the phone and you're going to dial your list as well. And then you're also going to email. Those are the three we use all the time. And what you're going to find is depending on the industry or the bucket you're working, sometimes LinkedIn is going to work a lot better for some people. So if you're going after construction, well, LinkedIn's probably not, or contractors, LinkedIn's probably not the best place. But if you call them, probably the best thing to do. You just better know exactly what to say as soon as you hit the phone. So you're not going to go into the marketplace playing offense, sending LinkedIn messages, making cold calls and dials, and email. And now what you're going to do is going to go through all your different buckets and contact everybody. This is a high volume exercise, but this is how you actually generate a large amount of sponsorship for an event, because you can't wait for people to contact you. You have to do the work and go out. So we actually have a sponsorship team for the conference, and they're doing the outbound messaging. They're doing the outreach and starting those conversations. Because this is what you're going to do. Once you have a connection, you're going to qualify that person. Hey, are they interested in our audience, right? Do they actually want to participate in our event? Do they have the budget for it? Do they have the right product fit? You're going to answer all those questions, right? You're going to qualify them. And that's generally going to be a setter. So we use a two-person, two-call approach. So call one is going to be outbound and just see if they're a fit. If they are a qualified fit and they are interested, they're going to go on to call number two with an account manager. And this is going to be the sales call where you're going to go deeper into discovery. You're going to do build out a plan together, and probably on a third call, that's when you're going to pitch and present your opportunity. So that this is the sale call right here. But that's what you have to do, because we call them BDRs, so business development reps. Your BDRs their job is to make $100 a day. Their goal is to generate those appointments. Now, I want 3 appointments per day from each BDR. That's what they have to do. Because what happens is you have 3 BDRs, that's 9 appointments a day for you or your account manager, and maybe you have 2 account managers. Well, you want to just ram their calendar. So you're probably going to have 6 BDRs, and that's going to generate a lot of appointments. But every day, your 2 AMs can cover that, and then they've got their follow-up. That's a full calendar. That's how you raise a lot of money at scale, through sponsorship for events. Okay, so you've got your different buckets, you're working the different buckets, and once your team grows big enough, you're going to have your BDRs start specializing in a specific industry. So maybe you will train one BDR, and they get really, really good at working supplement companies. They get to know the ins and outs of the industry. They know their jargon. They get to know like who's who. They really dive deep into that. That becomes your rainmaker for supplements. And that's all they're covering, right? Because a supplement company is going to be a different discussion or conversation than an HR or a marketing company. Very, very different. So when you're first starting out and you have 1 or 2 BDRs doing this thing for you, you're going to have to be able to mix and match and tailor their conversations depending on the industry. Once you have a decent sponsorship team, they're going to specialize in a specific bucket that you have. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Right, so you're going to identify the buckets, do cold outbound outreach, so LinkedIn, phone, email, and then you're going to qualify, set the call with the account manager, and then you're going to run through the process. Now, that sales process is going to be a lot different from what most people think. So ask yourself, when you think of event sponsorship, what do you think of? I will tell you that 90% of people think of this: gold, silver, bronze. When you think of event sponsorship, hey, and you say, hey, listen, I want to sponsor an event, you think of gold, silver, bronze level packages. Because I know this is what everybody does, because every time you have a sponsorship conversation, they're like, oh, well, like, what's your bronze package? This is the worst thing you can ever do, because every sponsor, if you're doing true activations, if you're selling exhibition with your vendor booth, different story. You have one price, and that's the cost of the real estate. But with true sponsorship, it has to be customized. And it's a breath of fresh air for the sponsors that we work with when we say, oh, well, actually, we don't have those packages. Those don't work. Let's create a customized plan for you so you can actually hit what you want to hit, like whatever target they have. And they're like, oh, this is amazing. So just separate yourself from the pack from the get-go and do things different. Because every sponsor is going to want to tap into a different subgroup. Every sponsor is going to have a different offer for the audience. Every sponsor is going to have a different way of selling, right? So you have to tailor their activation so that way, number one, they get connected with the right people, but number two, they can deliver value to the audience in a way that helps the audience, but then also has that reciprocal effect of generating sales, sales leads or signups, whatever the sponsor is really looking for. And in the sales conversation, you have to figure this stuff out, right? You have to ask them, you have to go into discovery. And we're going to be covering that a different day on, hey, our exact discovery process on a sponsorship call. But you can't do gold, silver, bronze packages. You're shooting yourself in the foot. Now, the next logical question is like, hey, what are sponsors looking for? Like, what do sponsors value? Because here's the thing. We found that everybody wants to be on stage, right? We have a stage, we have a large audience. Everybody wants to be on stage. The fact is, only a small percentage of people really should be on the stage. We have skills, number one. Not a lot of people are skilled enough to speak on stage. A lot of people think they can, but only few can. Number two, the audience, we have to look at the audience interest. If the audience isn't interested in hearing what you have to say, it's going to burn the event. And this is something like we're always improving. right? Because our first couple of years, we had some sponsors speak on stage, but every single year, every time they did, they were the lowest rated speaker on the stage, every single time. So what does that tell me? Well, yeah, we're generating revenue by having a sponsor spot on the stage, but the audience doesn't want it. And if the audience doesn't want it, they're not going to come back. And your event, the value of your event is going to decrease. So, we've definitely changed things up over the years with our conference and our event to get away from that. Because if every single paid speaker is the lowest rated person, it's not working, right? It just doesn't work. So what you have to do is you have to have activations and opportunities and ways to interact ways for the sponsor to interact with the audience that doesn't include speaking. Because if you do, you're just going to burn your audience. But we look at, with all the different events we work with, that's one of the number one things that they come to us with. We're like, hey, okay, walk us through sponsorship. Oh, well, if they get a booth, they got to go on stage for 10 minutes. Or, hey, if they get a booth, they got to do this in front of the audience on the main stage for half an hour. Well, think about this from your customer perspective. And the final customer here is the audience, right? Because if the audience leaves the room because they're not interested, there's no way the sponsor is going to get value. If the audience is in a bad mood because it's a crap event, they're not going to buy anything. So it's in the sponsor's best interest to make sure the audience is happy. But, think of it this way. You're in the audience and some sponsor who's paid whatever amount of money to get on stage for 10 minutes. What are they going to do for the full 10 minutes? They're just going to pitch. And nobody wants to hear that. I remember we had one person, they sponsored an after party of sorts. And all they did was pitch. And that was not supposed to happen, but it happens. Anytime you give a paying sponsor a microphone, they will pitch. And that's going to sewer your event with your audience. So you can't. My advice to you, don't even include speaking for any sponsorship activation, right? Because it's just going to backfire on you. What you have to do is create experiences with your audience and that sponsor that have a mutually beneficial effect, that relationship. The sponsor gives something, the audience that is interested in it, and then the audience will then reciprocate by giving their information. They'll get interested in the product. They'll buy the product, whatever that is. But whenever you're selling sponsorship, do not include speaking, because you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. The number one piece of advice right now for sponsorship, get away from that. So to recap, we've got 3 revenue streams. Right? We have 3 revenue streams with an event, right? We've got front end, ticket sales, sponsorship, and then you've got your back end sales. Sponsorship, we break it down. So you have exhibition, and then you have true sponsorship activations. Exhibition, you sell it. It's, we have 3 booth sizes. True sponsorship, customized, no more gold, silver, bronze. You have to customize it. And when you are customizing it, don't include stage speaking time. It's going to backfire on you. All right. But if you are interested in learning more about how we can scale your event, so our specialty is we'll take an event and we'll help you double in size. We have a guarantee on that too. So we will help you double in size because our systems are proven, they work. We've got it all figured out, and we will help implement into your event. So go to theconferenceaccelerator.com to learn more about that offer. And if you're running a workshop, a conference over 100 people, maybe you're at 300 people, you want to get to 600. Maybe you're at 500, want to get to 1,000. Maybe you're at 1,000, want to get 2,000. Let us know. We have a ton of resources. We can really help out. And we've worked with events in all sorts of different industries, from you name it, we've probably worked with it. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this week talking about sponsorship. Next week, we've got another jam-packed calendar for you guys. Monday, we've got the real estate show. Tuesday, we have the bullpen talking about sales. Wednesday, we have She's the Boss with Katie. That's her female entrepreneurship show. And then Thursdays, we've got event domination. So have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week.